Howdy everyone. Welcome to This Old Vegan. My name is Merlene Vassell, and in this video I'm going to talk to you about why I became vegan more than 25 years ago. The path to veganism was actually a pretty long one for me. I grew up loving animals, especially cats. We almost always had a pet cat when I was a kid, and those cats gave me a lot of affection, and I loved them to death. I also never particularly liked meat, as I'm sure you'll hear me say in a number of these videos. Even as a kid, I found it difficult to eat meat that looked like it was part of an animal. If it had veins, cartilage, skin, all of that made it look like it was actually part of an animal, I didn't want to eat it. So staying away from meat for the most part was pretty easy for me as a kid. Even, I wasn't trying to be vegetarian. I just didn't particularly like it. I grew up in Park Slope, Brooklyn, New York, with my parents and many, many siblings. In the backyard of our brownstone, even though it was a small yard, my father raised a whole lot of vegetables in the yard. I would call it our little farm. We had tomatoes and string beans and all kinds of vegetables. But he also had a little rabbit coop where he kept white rabbits that he would raise and butcher. That part of this farm was horrible to me, and I would not eat the rabbit meat. So even though I was opposed to eating the rabbit meat because I actually knew the rabbits that they came from, I still ate other meat, not quite putting it together in my mind that that meat had also come from other animals. On and off, I thought about becoming vegetarian, probably starting in maybe junior high or high school. But it wasn't until I was at college that I actually started to make the commitment. One day I was eating a hamburger at Willard Straight Hall on Cornell University's campus, and I bit into the hamburger and it was not cooked thoroughly. So even back when I ate meat, it had to be practically burnt for me to eat it. If there was any semblance of blood or pink in the meat, I couldn't eat it. So I bit into this hamburger, saw the pink middle, and decided right then and there that I would become vegetarian. However, what I did was I stopped eating red meat immediately. I stopped eating poultry maybe a couple of years later, and stopped eating seafood a few years after that. However, I will mention that at home I never cooked much meat. It was primarily a question when I went out to eat somewhere that I would be tempted by the food that was on the menu. At home I wouldn't cook it because I would see the meat in its raw state and therefore wouldn't want to eat it. So even after I became vegetarian, I still ate eggs and dairy products and honey. I figured that the animals didn't get killed in order to get eggs, dairy, or honey, so I didn't think there was really anything wrong with eating animal products. However, in June of 1996, I attended the March for Animals that was organized by Farm Animal Rights Movement here in Washington, D.C. At that conference, I watched a lot of videos and heard a lot of speakers talk about the horrors that animals were put through in order to get milk, eggs, and other products that don't actually kill the animals. Even if the animals are not killed, at minimum they're going to be confined and not allowed to live the natural kind of life that the particular animal would live. First of all, in order to produce milk, cows have to be kept pregnant and lactating. So the calves that they bear are just a byproduct, and what happens to them is not good. And for humans to drink the milk of another species doesn't make any logical sense. And adult humans are really not supposed to be drinking milk of any species, even our own. Laying hens are often kept in captivity just to collect their eggs. So they never get to live the life of a natural pen out in the wild. So I think that's also horrible. Bees. I don't think that humans should be stealing the honey that they spend so much energy making. I'm not going to go into a lot of details about it in this video. I talk a bit more about what the animals endure in my novel series, The Vampire and the Vegan. So anyway, learning all of this made me decide right then and there that I would become vegan. When I returned home, I immediately began veganizing my home. I got rid of any foods that I had that were not vegan. I went through my clothes and got rid of leather shoes, bags, and belts that I had. With the shoes, I didn't get rid of them all at once. What I did was, as they would wear out, I would replace them with synthetic leather or fabric shoes. Let's see, one of the most heartbreaking things to me is that I'm a self-proclaimed cheapskate. So I generally don't buy anything expensive. However, I had bought a very expensive leather jacket, $700, which is a lot of money to me, and particularly at that time, years ago. And I became vegan probably 6 months or a year after I had purchased this jacket. I gave it to the Salvation Army. I had also purchased a string of pearls. I don't know, for some reason I just got on this kick that I wanted a string of pearls. However, I was able to sell that at an apartment sale that a friend of mine was having, so at least I got a little bit of the money back for that. But I will tell you that the contentment that I felt in getting rid of these items was well worth the cost to me. Changing my diet to a vegan diet I thought was going to be difficult, because back in those days I used to put cheese on practically everything, and so I was afraid that I would really miss it, but I actually didn't. And again, back then, 25 years ago, finding non-dairy cheese was not easy. I don't even know if it did exist. So I just stopped eating cheese. And actually, once you've made up your mind to do something and you have a good reason for doing it, it turns out to be pretty easy to follow through. And I also realized that cheese is mostly fat and cholesterol. There's not really anything healthy about it. So it was a good idea for me to give up cheese anyway, even if I wasn't doing it for the sake of cows. It would be good for just my own health. So, having gone vegan more than 25 years ago, I haven't regretted it for even a second. First of all, I've been able to keep my weight constant. It stays within 2 or 3 pounds up or down, but it doesn't vary any more than that. Let's see, I'm extremely healthy and quite happy about that. I found many vegan foods that I love and enjoy, guilt-free, and most importantly, I'm able to feel that my actions are consistent with my values and my ethics. Well, thank you for listening to this video. I'm looking forward to reading your comments, and I'm also looking forward to seeing you next time. Until then, take care.